That, when you look at an overall timeline to get, from contract to a completed project, and changing that meter out and really having the customer start, that is where I'm seeing the biggest bottleneck and hold up. And if we could, and that's where we're here and why we've been so successful, Tim, and really what we offer is streamlining that timeline. And we're very proven to reduce that. We have some companies that we've reduced it, 400, 500%.
Are you speeding the energy transition? Here at the Clean Power Hour, our host Tim Montague bring you the best in solar, batteries, and clean technologies every week. Want to go deeper into decarbonization? We do too. We're here to help you understand and command the commercial, residential, and utility solar, wind, and storage industries. So let's get to it. Together we can speed the energy transition.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 8 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS product lineup includes string inverters ranging from 25 kW to 350 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 350 kW, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. CPS is the world's most bankable inverter brand and is America's #1 choice for solar plants, now offering solutions for commercial, utility, ESS, and balance of system requirements. Go to chintpowersystems.com or call 855-584-7168 to find out more. Today on the Clean Power Hour, an all-in-one ecosystem for solar enterprises. I'm Tim Montague. Check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. Give us a rating and a review on Apple and Spotify, and tell a friend about the show. Today on the Clean Power Hour, my guest is Parker Schram. He is the founder and co-owner of EnergyScape Renewables, a very ambitious platform for solar installers and solar sales organizations. Welcome to the show, Parker.
Hey, thank you, Tim, very much.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. And, right out of the gate, in the pre-show, we were talking about how you are working with some of the largest solar companies in the United States, like Sunrun. And basically, a project comes in-house to Sunrun, and they hand it off to you, and then you're handling everything. My understanding is you're handling everything up to construction. Is that right?
You got it. Yes, sir, Tim. So the whole vision behind EnergyScape Renewables is to provide all-encompassing services and solutions to solar enterprises. So what we want to be is, the one-stop shop to where EPCs, solar installers, can focus on selling and the installation, and we take care of all the fun work, right? So much of all the business operations, that's going to involve anywhere from the site survey, the sales proposal, and then like post-contract, that'll be the plan sets, electrical, structural engineering, the whole permitting applications with your AHJs, all the way to your final inspections, and recording NOCs, and then the utility application process as well, all the way to them switching out the meter. So full on one-stop shop, they can plug into us.
And how many markets across the U.S. are you working in?
So we are in all states. So we're nationwide, plus Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Well, I'm going to do my best to poke holes in your business model, but it sounds wonderful. So Parker, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the solar industry, and how did this vision evolve over time?
Sure. So, I was fortunate enough to really figure out after high school when I graduated and knew what I wanted to do. So I knew I wanted to get into the renewable sector. I loved everything about the engineering, design. So I specifically went to Appalachian State for renewable engineering. I was really focused and driven to, combat climate change and reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and really the energy independency of it. So I went there specifically because something called a solar decathlon. It's an international collegiate competition. Yep. It's organized by the U.S. Department of Energy, and it really challenges universities on designing, building, and operating energy efficient solar powered homes. So I was like, this is exactly what I would want to do. Fell in love with it. And then, after graduation, went right into internship program working on utility scale solar farms. I am from North Carolina. Not many people know, back then, 2010, North Carolina was, one of the biggest installation per capita states, right there behind California on the utility end.
Sure.
At that time, it was Arizona, California, Nevada, and North Carolina. So I was already in place, started working in the project management end of it, doing self-performing all the way to working with subcontractors on utility scale farms ranging from 2 megawatts to 100 megawatts in size. So there, I gained tons of experience, anywhere from, planning in of it, the whole project management, installation, commissioning, and really got kind of strung out working 70 hours a week, making these, living on the road, making these projects work. So, I decided to take 6 months off. I put a sales position into a local EPC that was actually ended up being one of the fastest growing solar companies out there. And then there, I really took a position as director of operation, and they wanted their whole core focus was to bring in, engineering and design in-house, and then also, really build up and assist with them on scaling. So kind of wore a lot of hats with that company, but I kind of was able to sit back and give a lot of experience on scaling and what it looks like as a solar, EPC to scale across all markets, and really grow as fast as you can. And that's where I really kind of saw the benefits of the outsourcing and in-house model. When it comes down to the cost savings, access to specialized expertise and the training, and so really got a good judgment and experience with that. So really kind of stuck into the residential markets at that time. Now I've been in it for about 14 years. And I saw kind of our other competitors and how that outsourcing model was happening. A lot of issues with the quality, with understanding the jurisdictions, understanding the utilities, and bottlenecks were happening. And when you're scaling an EPC and when you're talking, 200-300 plus projects a month, definitely, bottlenecks, cannot happen.
Right.
So we really saw the opportunity. I kind of knew of what needed to happen as an outsourcing company, and how we can really fit in, as a fine, well-oiled machine with the EPC, with the outsourcing model. So kind of started on the side until that project really built up, to where it was ready to go full time. So EnergyScape Renewables, we've been going about 4 years now. And then now, we've scaled to 450 employees, working with about 160 EPCs out there nationwide.
So I'm looking at your LinkedIn. There's a connection between the Solar Connect and EnergyScape?
Yeah, so the Solar Connect is just an LLC that I started here, for most of the consulting services that I have. So that's more of me personally, and then we have EnergyScape Renewables.
Okay. And, in the industry, this is vital that we identify what segments of the industry you're working in, because there's residential, there's
Right.
commercial, or C&I as we call it. And then there's, really four. There's community, which is small utility. And then there's utility, which is like 20 megawatts plus or 50 megawatts plus, depending on who you are. Some of these big IPPs consider
Right.
50 and up. But what niches within the industry are you targeting?
So our bread and butter is the residential. We are doing on average about 10,000 residential projects on a monthly basis. But we also do commercial and industrial. What I inform everybody is anything behind the meter. So we're not really dealing with the medium voltage interconnection stuff like you're seeing more on maybe the community or the utility scale. We're just so busy and growing so much at capacity on that residential end. So our primary focus is residential. We do CNI, and we also are involved in, electrical vehicle charging, as well as, energy storage systems too.
And what about large CNI, like megawatt to 5 megawatt large rooftop? Are you doing that?
We would sometimes. Right now, we're getting to about that capacity to where, we may not take those on. So what I'm informing EPCs out there is if it is behind the meter, if we are not having to, do interconnection work and running it up riser poles and doing medium voltage interconnections, we're not going to mess with that stuff. But if you have a current service there, we do load calculations, we do service upgrades all the time, but just nothing medium voltage in. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And how is it 10,000 projects a month? That's a very big number. That means there's an army of designers and engineers sitting at computers cranking out these projects. Where are all those people?
So we run overseas out of India. So we actually have 4 branches and offices, all the way from South Central India. So the majority of our drafters. So we'll have the PV designers, and then we have a whole organization, of directors, operations, HR, but mostly the designers and then assistant managers, project managers. Much of the operations is overseas. And then here in the United States, we consist of about 25 employees here in the States, in all time zones as well. As brand managers and account managers, more or less. So NABCEP certified account managers that are really the connection between both parties and just assuring, quality, and being the face for any type of customer support with our clients.
Okay. So check out EnergyScapeRenewables.com, just like it sounds. Hover over the services tab, and this is, I'm still I'm reeling a little bit because the scope of services you offer is truly impressive. Site evaluation, sales proposals, permit applications, permit packages, PE stamping, and utility application or interconnection, right? So
Yes, sir.
It is truly a turnkey solution. You could be one guy in a truck going door to door selling solar projects, and then click of a button, you're getting a proposal back, all the engineering, design and engineering, and then you just have to find an installer, right? A local installer in that market. So this is pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
The question I guess I have first, this is the first tough question, Parker, is how do you not get out over your skis? Because in 2023 and 2024, there was just a slew of really big established companies getting into trouble and going bankrupt. How have you avoided that problem, and how do you see the company growing in the next, 3 to 5 years?
Yes, great point. So, the industry, I probably haven't seen it last 14 years, specifically in the residential and like it was, last year. So, the economy, the inflation, the interest rates, net metering, changes like we see in, California, North Carolina as well. So things that we have to adapt to for us. If I put the business owner hat on, I want to ensure that at least 30% of, our revenue and our clients aren't coming from a single organization, right? So we do a really good job at onboarding, not just the enterprise EPCs, but also your mops and pop shops, right? Your local guys that are just getting into business. So on a revenue standpoint, we do a good job at that. But also, that's what we're here for. We get the issues that the EPCs face. It's like lighting a tail on fire, and it catches up with these guys. So it's cash flow issues that they have. And, the majority of these projects on the residential market, is, through financing or leases and TPOs, right? So we understand how the EPCs operate and how important it is to get a project from contract to putting glass on the roof and getting you to PTO so they can pull the financing in.
Yeah.
And what we find the issue is, EPCs, they might coordinate, they might do the sales in-house, they might, group up with a bunch of sales dealers and organizations, and they just open the floodgates, and it's going to catch up to them. They're going to have revisions, they're going to have change orders, inaccurate proposals. We can get into the weeds of all the issues that happen, but in the front, it catches up to them, right? And they have cash flow issues. And, that's one of the things that we offer and help these EPCs by, the outsourcing model and by doing things the right way in the first time as well.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 8 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS product lineup includes string inverters ranging from 25 kW to 350 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 350 kW, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. CPS is the world's most bankable inverter brand and is America's #1 choice for solar plants, now offering solutions for commercial, utility, ESS, and balance of system requirements. Go to chintpowersystems.com or call 855-584-7168 to find out more. So the other challenge, of course, and I just interviewed Andrew Birch, aka Birchie, the co-founder of Open Solar. I don't know if you've met him, but
yes,
very seasoned solar professional, and we talked a lot about the cost of solar and how permitting is a major cost center in the United States market.
Yeah.
Because it's not a one-click, one and done, the way it is in Australia and Europe. But there are, tens of thousands of AHJs, each with their unique twists and turns for getting solar permitted. How do you tackle that problem?
Yeah, so that is probably the biggest thing that makes us stand out to anybody else offering the services, specifically with engineering and design, permitting and interconnection as well. So we leverage all of our volume working with top enterprise clients like your Ion, Legacy, ADT Solar, Sunrun, but also, we're doing 10,000 projects on a monthly basis nationwide. So we put procedures in place. We put key compliance managers and account managers here to update what we have, and I could stand on is one of the most updated, comprehensive AHJ and utility database on the market. We have over 10,000 AHJs and almost about 950 utility companies with specific details, not just, what code adoptions, what year they're on, but actually the details, what labels, what specific verbiage do you need on the plan sets, what type of disconnects you need, what type of interconnection that we can do. And then also, the application process with the, the permitting and the interconnection too. So we have collected this and then invested in constantly and leverage all that volume that we're doing constantly, Tim.
Yeah.
And working with some of the bigger enterprises to keep this updated. We find that is one of the most important thing in streamlining operations and getting you guys to get the job completed, the quickest.
I mean, I also think how you have an amazing database of projects and you see how quickly or slowly things are happening in different markets. Highlight for me, what are the top 5 residential solar markets today in 2025?
Sure. I would say on the residential end, it's going to be Florida, Texas. We're going to see California, Chicago and New Jersey is actually 2 of them that we've seen very increase a lot here in the last. We're onboarding a lot of people out of there.
Yep.
And then we do a lot on North Carolina, but I would say that's about our top 5.
Got it. No real surprises there, except maybe Florida. That's a little surprising. I'm glad to hear it. Great solar resource, not known for its, utility friendliness to DG, so to speak, but
Very true. And AHJ, South Florida, look, we deal with it. I tell a lot of people that are going into Florida, maybe try other, locations other than the South Florida end. Miami-Dade, Broward County, a lot of these AHJs are very difficult. We have them down pat. It's a phone call away. We know the plan reviewers and all the details needed, but exactly. Even like South Florida, it can be pretty difficult to get to install quickly.
Yeah. But so if I'm an installer here in the US and I'm using you as my back end,
Yeah.
My interface with your company is through an account manager.
Yeah. So, as soon as, we agreed upon, we'll send a service level agreement on and outline the scope of work that we'll take on. We'd love to have an onboarding meeting. All EPCs do things different, right? So the first thing we do is we have an onboarding meeting with that direct account manager and then the project manager and the team as well. We're going to learn about you. We're going to get the job intake forms, talk about process. Are we going to use your internal CRM? Are we going to do, Dropbox shared files? And then we discuss that company's standards, right? Do they standardize this thing? So we'll even review and go over the templates. And if we're doing the interconnection and permitting work, there's a whole process of collecting all the general contractor information and all that stuff. But yes, that direct account manager will be that front-facing onboarding that's really going to direct the meetings and how we move forward on getting projects started.
I think I really look forward to talking to some of your customers in Boston or San Diego at one of these upcoming trade shows, because it's easy to make a lot of promises. It's very hard to deliver a seamless solution that really is working. And I have nothing against outsourcing labor to the Indian market. It's a well-established thing, right? Lots of good technical labor there in India at an affordable rate. We need to bring down the cost of solar. But let's face it, sometimes it's hard to understand their English. And so you do want a go-between, I think, that is a native English speaker who can really be the glue when there is a hiccup or some modification or whatever, right, for customer service. So exactly. What do your customers say? I'm just curious, like if I talk to your top 5 customers, what is some of the feedback that I'm going to hear?
Yeah, that is a great point, Tim. And that is one of the most things that I have heard from EPCs on the issues of outsourcing, right, overseas, and specifically, in markets like India and the Philippines. So, the first thing we wanted to do was quality. So, we created processes even overseas. We have something called an EnergyScape Renewables Academy, right? So as soon as we even onboard, designers, project managers, we send them through a 3 months of training courses where they have to get certified before we even have them begin and start, right? So we put processes, standard operating procedures in place, and some automation as well to really dial down the quality. And then the number 2 is definitely the communication. Obviously, like you stated, working overseas has its benefits because we can be very cost competitive, and then the turnaround times, right? So when we're operating over here in the United States, they're submitting projects out, because of the time differences, we're already working them. So we have some of the industry leading turnaround times. But the biggest feedback, just like you said, is that communication. So that's why we have 25 employees here that are directly communicating with the project management team and them and the clients as well. And they're always going to be available to them. I'm always going to be available too, but we always tell them, these account managers are for you guys, to your team. We're picking up the phone. We're contacting jurisdictions. We're contacting utilities. It's not what you'll see with a lot of other companies out there is that they'll just do the drafting and then they'll send it over. We really take responsibility of these projects to really take them on. And we also do have some pretty great communication, some employees overseas that can, have great English, and can also communicate well. But we definitely are going to have that person here in the United States manage and hold the accounts. So any meetings, any communications that happens, it's going to go through that direct account manager team.
So what is your critical constructive critical analysis of EnergyScape? What are the challenges that remain, and how are you tackling those?
Sure. So I would say the first thing is scale. There has to be a balance. Again, I've wore many hats, but to my nature, I'm an engineer, and I'm an operations guy. So again, starting the company, I got to put my ownership hat on, and there's this balance of scaling, selling, and making sure to ensure that quality is there. So that's always the biggest balance. I think for the longevity of the company and the brands, my number one goal and worry is the customer, the EPC, and even the end customer, Tim, the homeowner, right? And just the market its own. So quality is number one, and ensuring that the level of insurance that we're informing them, the service is going to be there. So that to me is a big issue. Or it's not issue, but, a factor that can be difficult, on how much do we bring in at what capacity. So I look at, how much capacity we have, and we have all these procedures to manage quality and look at it overall. So it's that balance in the seasonality of solar. Right? Everybody knows it's the solar coaster. All right, Tim. So right now it's one of the lower months. It's, in February. So usually in the winter times, you'll start seeing it like that. And then spring and summer kicks in, and then the volume starts shooting in. Right.
Yeah.
So that is something that we constantly have to manage. One of our quality assurance programs is when we have a client on board, you have a designated team solely working for them. So they're not working with 5-6 different people. So volume projections, we're trying to constantly coordinate with the clients to get volume projections so we can staff accordingly to that volume. And we're being most efficient on our end. So the seasonality, playing with the staffing, and ensuring that is definitely a big factor. And then right now, to be honest, it's payments. Like you said, a lot of EPCs, kind of went under dealing with Chapter 11, 14 issues. So let's just say accounts receivable team is very busy. It's for us to get paid. That's definitely an issue that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
On top of that, though, as far as policy changes, the HJs, utility adoptions, we're really on top of that, and we invested heavily on our compliance team, and we have a great permitting department and great interconnection department where we're staying on the forefront to do as much due diligence as possible, to be prepared in all key markets, and dealing with any type of policy changes on that end.
Yeah. So, gosh, I have so many questions, Parker, but this is really where I want to go. The future of the industry here in the U.S. Like, what are your thoughts about how do we expedite solar permitting? We have the solar app. The uptake of the solar app has been very slow. Yeah. And HJs go, well, we already got that handled. We're doing it our way. We want to do it our way. We don't need the solar app. And that's a tragic mistake, right? Because we're reinventing the wheel 50 at least times over, right?
Oh, yeah.
But what are your thoughts about how can we bring down the soft costs of solar in the U.S.?
Yeah, no, great point. And I think that is where we need to go to expedited interconnection and permitting work. When I look at nationwide, I can see an average of sometimes even 30 to 45 days, to get a interconnection, sometimes even longer we've seen in jurisdictions, obviously depending on your scenario, right? it could really bottleneck and affect these EPCs. So I think making sure we have an expedited software and process like that, like you said, unfortunately, we use Solar App, mostly jurisdictions, California. AHJs just aren't, it's not speeding up. They're not adopting it yet. So for me, I mean, the financing I know lender fees and rates and stuff like that have kind of skyrocketed and affect, the market. But I think on the operation side, it is 100% expediting the interconnection and permitting timeline. That when you look at an overall timeline to get, from contract to a completed project, and changing that meter out and really having the customer start, that is where I'm seeing the biggest bottleneck and hold up. And if we could, and that's where we're here and why we've been so successful, Tim, and really what we offer is streamlining that timeline. And we're very proven to reduce that. We have some companies that we've reduced it, 400, 500%.
And so if I'm an EPC comparing, or thinking, okay, today I'm doing a lot of this in-house. Tomorrow
Right.
I might outsource to your company. What is that delta? What is the value proposition that you're making to your customers?
Right. I've always been a believer of like that hybrid method, Tim, have some really good, departments management, in-house and then outsource a lot of it, especially with the seasonality of it, lower times we can maintain this volume. And then when it grows, outsource it. But then you can have a lot of issues operating that. So I think the biggest value that any EPC has with the outsourcing model, number one, cash flow overhead, definitely with the seasonalities. You don't, a lot of things are remote work right now, post COVID times, but,
Yep.
the office expenses, you have to think the staffing, all right, the overhead on that, all of the insurance, all of that, the training. You have to make sure that there's been labor shortages, let's be real though. In the last 2 years, it's getting competitive and it can be difficult to find, somebody with experience and the knowledge to run some of these department, services. So the training aspect of it as well. And then scaling, a lot of EPCs, if you're wanting to scale. So the way I inform EPC, the way I inform if I'm having a discussion is one, labor cost reduction, reducing overhead costs, focus on your core competencies, right? Like focus on client relations, project, developing the projects and executing them from the installs and working on training them and focus on the selling, right? Focus on that customer
let's
support.
talk about the cost of solar because Birchie pointed out the average cost in the U.S. of residential solar turnkey is $3.40 a watt. In Australia, it's $1 a watt.
Yeah.
Of that $3.40, though, right, a lot of that is equipment, okay? Solar panels, 30 cents a watt. Now, they're 10 cents in Australia, just for a data point there, folks.
Okay.
We have a lot of tariffs on solar panels.
Okay.
And then labor, right? The installation is a relatively expensive portion of it. But how do you break it? How do you break out the pie chart for if I'm going to go to just a sales/installation model and let you do everything in between?
Yeah.
What is your slice of the pie on a cents per watt or percent basis?
Yeah, I mean, we could see a percentage of anywhere from 20 to 30%. The cost per watt on that breakdown, I'm not surely know. We did actually run an analysis for one of these enterprise clients. I just don't remember it from the top of our head, but
Okay.
we definitely have seen, 20% reduction, just looking at it on a cost perspective. And the good thing, Tim, what's really important is we do like some package deals and everything, but you have a fixed cost per watt that you can include into, your red lines or rate structuring, with your operation. So what I mean by that is they're already going to know the cost per project using us for, we do full packages or just for, a plan set or for the engineering and design. We don't really include adders. We like to make a simple cost structure. So you guys could look at it at a per project. This fixed cost is going to go to, engineer design or the permitting or interconnection. So it's easy for them as a business owner to know, here's my fixed cost, fixed rate. I can easily put it in to my red lines and per project basis.
Yeah. I mean, I just did the math. 33% of 340 is $1.12.
Right.
So think $1 a watt, that sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage you, solar installers out there, solar sales organizations, to give it a shot and then get back to me. I want to hear what your experience is onboarding, getting, your pipeline onboarded into EnergyScape Renewables and getting projects permitted. I'm very curious what that experience is, because that's the bottom dollar, right? Is reducing friction, making things go faster. I like to say, we're speeding the energy transition. And one of my value propositions with my clients is I'm helping them go further, faster. And it sounds like EnergyScape Renewables does have that capacity. Parker, in our last minute together, very briefly, what else should our listeners know and where can they find you?
Definitely. So the biggest thing, if you are a solar enterprise installer out there, this year, we help streamline your business operations. We help you save on the operational costs like me and Tim just discussed. We will provide that professional and technical support for you guys. But the proven factor is we are proven to get you guys to PTO, permission to operate, much, much faster. Okay. And with much more accurate sales and higher conversion rates and mitigate change orders. So we are an engineering and design company is our backbone, but we help streamline and get you guys to install a lot easier and a lot quicker is the biggest thing. So please, if you guys are looking to scale and you're needing assistance, anything from the business operations standpoint, reach out to us. We have a website at www.energyscaperenewables.com. You can hit a contact us section, put in an inquiry about a service that you might be interested in. I also have a LinkedIn page, Harris Parker Schram. Please feel free. You guys can message and contact me at any time as well. We can have, if it's not myself, we'll have a direct account manager reach out to you guys.
Awesome. Well, I'm Tim Montague. Check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. Give us a rating and a review. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll see you at a trade show soon. Boston, San Diego, Reno, etc. I'm Tim Montague. Let's grow solar and storage. Thanks so much, Parker.
Thanks, Tim.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 8 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS product lineup includes string inverters ranging from 25 kW to 350 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 350 kW, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. CPS is the world's most bankable inverter brand and is America's #1 choice for solar plants, now offering solutions for commercial, utility, ESS, and balance of system requirements. Go to chintpowersystems.com or call 855-584-7168 to find out more.